People who have been caught having by their parents, what happens afterwards? My GFS mom caught us. She didn't barge in or anything, but the next morning I woke up and went to the kitchen to get a drink. Her mom was there, but I didn't assume anything as she was supposed to be out late for work or something. All she said was, I ended up not needing to work late. I'm glad you're taking care of my daughter. I almost jumped out of the window in embarrassment. That's when you hit her with a my pleasure, ma'am. I can take care of you too. Wink wink finger guns moonwalk out the room. Story 2. Not exactly what you asked for, but when I was 18, my girlfriend at the time and I were watching movies in my room. My grandma came by and knocked on my door before coming in to say hi. She saw us asleep and fully clothed. She chuckled, apologized, and closed the door. I heard my grandma telling my mom that she walked in on me doing something scandalous. You were holding hands, weren't you? Scandalous indeed. Story 3. I have a kind of opposite story. When my boyfriend and I first got together, we ended up having sex in his parents' kitchen cause we thought we were home alone. His mom walked in, and we managed to cover up before she saw. It was a pants around thighs situation, but we cracked up laughing about it. Later his dad called him and said, "Oh, your mom told me about you two giggling like schoolgirls in the kitchen for some reason." My boyfriend's response was, "We weren't giggling, Dad. We were banging." I was mortified. His dad, however, seemed proud. Were you winning, son? Story 4. My mom waited until the next morning, made me a wonderful omelet, and then when I was 3 bites in with a mouthful chomping away, she said, "If you get a girl pregnant, we will not help you raise the baby." I damn near died. My parents are fantastic people. I was messed up as a 19-year-old, and the point they were making was that I was not responsible enough to have a child. Story 5. Not caught, but one time in high school, my girlfriend and I were at her house having sex, and she was very loud about it because we were the only ones there. So we thought. After we were done, we walk out to the living room, and her dad was sitting on the couch and gave me a death stare I will never forget. He didn't say a word to either one of us, and she told me he didn't talk to her for a week. Same thing happened with my dad. Luckily, I left the bedroom before her to get a drink, so my dad waited a minute and acted like he just got home so we could pretend he didn't hear anything. This is what legends are made of. Story 6. A friend of mine that I had a crush on at the time had a dream to be an amateur dentist. So when I had a loose tooth, we were 13 or 14, she really wanted to tear it out. To the point where she hopped on top of me on my bed with her hand in my mouth to tear it out. I obviously resisted and was groaning because this was painful, and my thrashing was making the bed creak a lot, and my dad came up confused to see what was going on, and when he saw a girl I had a crush on straddling me, our faces inches apart. He promptly said, "Be careful, you two," and walked downstairs. To this day, I think my father is convinced that he walked in on me about to have sex with this girl cause he always gets confused when I tell him I never had a chance with her. Story 7. Happened twice. First time was my brother when I was like 17 to 18. Wanted me to move my car, so he walked into my room. Blanket was over us, but I was on top of her when he walked in. He just said, "Sorry," and closed the door. He profusely apologized later that day when I saw him again. Second time was my mom. She wanted to know if girlfriend was staying for dinner. Just walked in, flailed her arms around for a second, and ran off faster than I've ever seen her run before, leaving the door open. We just got up, got dressed, and that was it. Mom never brought it up again. Story 8. So first off, wasn't caught in the action. Caught right after the action. And second, we were 16, so I know we didn't make the brightest choices. Girlfriend at 16 had a very religious family. They lived in the city, so there was no driveway or anything to warn us that a parent was coming home. Her parents were out for the day, and the GF and I were going to a movie that afternoon, so I drove over to pick her up. I got there a little early, so naturally, we used time wisely and had sex. Right after sex, doing our post-sex naked cuddle, we hear the front door start unlocking. We quickly get clothes on. Done. Next, I'm not supposed to be upstairs in their house again. Very religious people and preach abstinence. And the stairs are right next to the front door, so there's no shot I'm making it down them unseen. The first thought we have is for me to hide. Dumb 16 years old. So I get in the hallway closet. GF's mom comes upstairs, sees her daughter, and asks if she's still waiting on me. The mom takes off her shoes, brings them over to the closet, opens the door, puts them literally on my toes, realizes their feet, looks up, sees my face, and releases a full-on comedy horror movie scream right in my face. The three of us had a long conversation after which we pleaded that I was only waiting for the GF to get ready and knew I wasn't supposed to be upstairs, so I hid. Obviously didn't work. Dated for another few months, and now we're still friends. We actually joke about it every so often. Her mom didn't hold it against me in the long run. Story 9. I snuck into my girlfriend's room and stayed the night one time because I had nowhere else to go. Usually her mom leaves for work before everyone gets up for school, but this particular morning her mom came in to ask her something before leaving. Yeah, I woke up to her mother screaming get out of her bed and ripping the blankets off. And of course I was butt naked. Her mom started acting like she was worried her teenage daughter would get pregnant all the time, and I kind of just avoided her mother for a while because I couldn't look her in the eye. So yeah, anyways, that's the story of how my mother-in-law saw my D. Story 10. Not my parents, and it wasn't even in the act. My first girlfriend's dad found a big value pack of condoms in her dresser and took them as like an unspoken message that he knew. The thing is, I was always the one who would bring my own condoms since hers were just backups. So her father was very confused why she never brought it up for like months, and he finally sat us both down and explained that he knew we were having sex. He also mentioned how disappointed he was that we weren't using protection. I remember the word idiot being thrown around at both of us. I proceeded to explain and then show that I usually toted my own condoms around with me. Never thought that I would see a father that was proud of me sleeping with his daughter. We awkwardly laughed it off, and then went to get Mexican food. LOL, he was a weird dude, but he always gave respect where it was due. Story 11. We were going at it, and my dad got home. I never noticed until he was walking down the hall. I warned her with enough time that she managed to dive down between the bed and wall. My dad walks in and sees me with a full chub just there in my bed scrambling like the kid caught in the cookie jar. He yells and runs out. I yell and scramble for my clothes. We both get dressed crazy fast. Then my dad knocks again, so she dives behind the bed again. He comes in and proceeds to start this big talk about how there's no need to be embarrassed and masturbating is perfectly healthy. After far too many. Yeah, Dad. Okay, Dad. I get it. He walks out and she pokes her head up with the biggest shit-eating grin. She asks me, how do I get out of here? I tried a couple unsuccessful times to get him away so she could sneak out, but it was no use. I eventually just said, Dad, can you go do something for a few minutes? There's a girl in my room, and she's really embarrassed and would like to sneak out quietly. My dad would have none of it. I ended up introducing them, and my dad made extra dinner for her. After dinner, he remembered there was something he had to go and do for the evening and left us to our own devices. Story 12. His mother caught us. She apparently thought it was reasonable to stand in the doorway and say, stop that. I was so shocked and uncomfortable and just kind of stared speechlessly, waiting for her to go away, like a normal person would if they walked in on somebody having sex, surely. But she literally just kept telling us to stop it until I, got off of him. And then she walked us downstairs so she could keep an eye on us for the rest of the day, and then banned me from the house for the next 6 weeks. Even though we were both past the age of consent, and we were doing it quietly in his bedroom with the door shut. So very weird. This would have been a great time to assert dominance by not stopping and looking her right in the eye.